Finn Balor, perhaps more than any other performer in WWE right now, is symptomatic of Vince McMahon's, let's say, changeable moods, his differing whims. The man's mind flops and flips around more often than Dolph Ziggler selling a car accident. Alright, so way back in the beginning, Finn Balor turned down WWE on numerous occasions. He was adamant he only wanted to star stateside once he felt fully equipped for it, and he fulfilled this sense of loyalty to New Japan Pro Wrestling, where he had elevated himself with a series of stunning junior heavyweight wars. And back in New Japan, he was a high-flying babyface wizard, but also a vicious, venom-spewing heel. Prince Devitt, as he was called then, wasn't just elite-level main event talent as the genius behind the Bullet Club, he was a genuine revolutionary. By 2014, through a combination of incredible matches and, well, experiments in face paint, he quite literally covered himself in money. He went from being a reliable top-level worker to a genuine merchandise sensation. You had a performer here whose work the adults were going to fawn over, but also this larger-than-life supernatural character who was going to haunt the bank accounts of parents across the world. He called himself the extraordinary man who could do extraordinary things, but yet he was still more than that. He was all things to all men. Well, almost all men except for one man, Vincent Kennedy McMahon. It stands to reason, and is in keeping with Vince's shiny new toys philosophy, that he gravitated towards him because Balor was, at the time of his NXT run, essentially just an action figure. Thus, he equaled Hulk Hogan's meteoric rise to the top by capturing the Universal title on his very first pay-per-view. Sadly though, as we all know, Balor suffered numerous serious injuries in that match, and thus began this years-long creative hellscape he's been trapped in ever since. Now, he completely no-sells this nightmare by very literally taking on board Vince's big smiles out there directive on his way through the curtain, but there is just such an obvious redemptive arc to be told, and so low are the stakes on Raw these days that nobody is expecting it. Now, just to put all this in a little bit of context, both AJ Styles and Daniel Bryan were elevated in defeat by putting Brock Lesnar over at Survivor Series 17 and Survivor Series 2018, respectively. So much has Vince soured on Balor, he didn't even deem him to be a worthy loser. Balor jokes on social media about his failure to recapture the Universal title, but all that does is bring into focus just how little charisma, how little charm, how little wit, how little personality he's permitted to get across on television. Now, this might feel like I'm going on a bit, and admittedly I am, but my point is he's gone from Hogan level push to just being good at Twitter in 2 years. To his credit though, the guy is obviously a consummate professional and is still obviously very happy to just be a part of WWE. They've put him with Baron Corbin, they've put him with Bray Wyatt, they've put him with Kane, all workers who are nowhere near on his level, but who he has sold and sold and sold and sold and sold for. He has done his part to put the heat on these heels, but in the process he has incinerated his credibility as a main eventer. But this role, as per a series of recent rumors, could finally be set for some kind of exorcism. They're very high on Finn Balor, at least for the short term. Dave Meltzer remarked on Wrestling Observer Radio, and every other insider in the week since has doubled down on that. They love him now, maybe. Now, we have already seen some evidence to back this up. Balor literally soared over the rest of the roster in the prelude to that excellent six-man tag match on Raw last week. Like, in the match itself, he didn't just sell and sell and sell and sell, but he excelled. And we are recording this before tonight's episode of Raw, but I'm willing to bet he looks strong on that as well. Or else this video looks really stupid. But why, I hear you ask, why are WWE finally so hot on Balor after 2 years of doing virtually nothing with him? Well, the simple answer is they are absolutely petrified of losing him to All Elite Wrestling. Now, as cynical and as galling as that is, it is still progress. I mean, I guess the more important question here is what on earth would they be building to with all of this? And if a rumor started by a 1F Balor on Instagram is anything to go by, then it's this, a WrestleMania match with The Undertaker. And wouldn't that be quite the leap up from Jordan Devlin? In the past, WWE has responded to the threat of competition by simply denying that competition the talent that was making it a success. If they perceived you to be a threat in any way, shape or form, they would simply sign all of your top guys, thus taking the legs right out from under you. That's none of my business. But per Pro Wrestling Sheet's Ryan Satin, contracts in AEW are financially comparable to that of WWE. And per Dave Meltzer on Wrestling Observer Radio, they are negotiated on a bespoke basis. Basically meaning for the first time, talent can now make WWE money, but in a way that fits their needs, their goals, their personal aspirations, and their careers. Chris Jericho is free to promote his cruise endeavors, his band, and appear in New Japan Pro Wrestling. They've already said they won't stop Joey Janela promoting his own shows. They're going to make the kind of money people in WWE do, but with the sort of creative freedom those guys could only dream of. And thus WWE's big fear is because Balor entered the company on this huge creative tear, he might also leave under one as well. Thus far, WWE has done virtually nothing to promote or even show us this demon character that Balor has spent years so passionately and creatively crafting. Like, he debuted with it at SummerSlam, but what since then? It was a big part of a 2K game, he did the pumpkin version, that's it. Like, there is this whole near decade-long mythology behind the character. Every time Balor adorns his war paint, he becomes stronger, he becomes darker, he becomes more vicious, but the monster threatens to consume the smiling man underneath it all. And that's absolutely fascinating. But Jonathan Coachman, quite sensibly in the circumstances, once asked, why doesn't he just wear it all the time if it helps him win matches? Because they've never told us any of this story behind it, and they've had since July 2016 to do that. But meanwhile, AEW are there absolutely desperate to impress and grab headlines with the kind of talent they're signing. Now, A, they would absolutely 1000% definitely want Balor, and B, if they got him, they would afford him complete creative freedom to either do a new character or develop this one further. Like, you got to remember, this is a company that is so creative. It has effectively become legitimate competition already, using nothing more than YouTube. And I use YouTube. But, and here is the thing that might just swing it back in WWE's favour. For all the talk of how uninspiring or uncreative they've been on television over the last few years, the fact that they've barely used the demon plays into their hands. Like, it is untouched by pretty much any of the malaise that has affected the rest of the company. It's still there, it's still in everybody's mind, it's still ready to go. At SummerSlam 2018, the demon emerged for the first time in what felt like absolutely ages. At the merest hint of it, an exhausted crowd absolutely lost their minds over it. There was this gorgeous visual presentation. They gave Balor a genuine megastar reaction when he came out as this character. Now imagine had there been any substance behind the style of all that. In 2018, they used it once. They used that character once, and it was for a sub 2-minute squash against Baron Corbin. That was it. Now, I just want to quickly read you this interview Balor did with Rolling Stone in 2015 at the very height of his NXT run. He basically just speaks about how grateful he is to WWE for helping him fine-tune the character. Before, I was doing it for the sake of it, whenever I wanted to. When I came here, they helped me figure out why I do it. The company has bent over backwards to help me figure out why I do things and when. Now, of course, that was all during the honeymoon period of NXT, but even Balor must now surely admit that on the main roster, the opposite is probably true. Like, they literally have him in the company for the sake of just having him in the company, and all they do is throw him around various inconsequential, meaningless feuds that never get fully resolved. They have done nothing to advance his career in a meaningful way for 2 years. So with AEW now right there, does he, or indeed should he, feel any responsibility or loyalty to WWE whatsoever? More important question, which of those companies is better positioned to harness his creativity? Is it the one that was willed into existence by a man who somehow made the NWA World Heavyweight title relevant last year? Or is it the one who did the Bobby Lashley sisters in drag thing? It's a tough one. Despite Finn Balor's age and despite whatever Simon Gotch said in that interview, Finn Balor did not leave New Japan for a payday. He left it because he genuinely thought he should be a star on the biggest stage possible. Now, WWE is and likely always will be that stage, but they've so far either been unwilling or unable to harness his potential. Now, the first one is easily fixable, and we think they're going to try and fix it soon, but if it's the latter, that's never, ever, ever going to resolve itself. Balor now has to decide which of those two it is. But as ever, let us know what you make of all this. Is Balor even a main event star in your eyes in the first place, or is he where he deserves to be in the pecking order? Shout it all out in the comments below, and of course don't forget to like, share and subscribe. Until next time though, I have of course been WhatCulture's Adam Cleary, really hoping that he doesn't get beat on Raw tonight. Bye!